4 presentations. Each are directly aligned to our strategic plan, Back to the Basics 2030. We'll begin by grounding ourselves in data, our CCRPI results, as well as the college and career indicators. Dr. Kathy Howell, Chief Performance Officer, will take us through that. Our next presentation is aligned to We Are Sparking Student Curiosity. Ms. Shelley Goodman will provide an update on how we're exploring specialized innovative school models. Our third presentation is aligned in regards to our responsibility being shared. Crystal I'm messing this name up. Crystal is all I'm gonna say. Crystal is going to provide an update, so I know her, on strategies that increase access and engagement for families and communities, and excited that you'll hear some on-the-ground work there as well. Then our final presentation deals with our financial update. Dr. Lisa Bracken, our CFO, will provide an update on that. So we are ready, Dr. Howell, for our update on CCRPI as well as our college and career readiness indicator.
Hear me? There we go. Perfect. Thank you. Board Chair Mitchell, board members, Dr. Johnson, thank you for the opportunity to share with you a performance update on the 2025 College and Career Readiness Performance Index. And so before I dive into those results, I want to just wrap some context around it, particularly for those who this accountability system may be new to you or a little foggy, so that you have some context, so when I do share the results, you can better follow along and make sense of what it is we're talking about. So November 12th, the state released the results that were for the last school year, so the 2025. So this is lagging data, but CCRPI, what it stands for is the College and Career Readiness Performance Index, and this is a tool. This is the state accountability system that aligns with or per federal law for how we hold school districts and individual schools accountable to ensure that all students and all student groups leave our schools college and career ready. And so think of this like a report card versus a one single test. It's a report card that packs the punch because it's required by law, but there are these 5 main components or categories, which you can see on the screen. And how it's different, it's an index of 0 to 100 that rolls up to our district level. And people often think about it as a test score because those first 3 categories, content mastery, progress, and closing the gap, those measures are calculated using a test score, how students perform on what we call GMAS, which is the Georgia Milestone assessment that students take in grades 3 through 8 and in high school in our 4 core subject areas. And so the 5th component is the graduation rate, and that's exclusive to high school. And then we have this readiness component in there, which goes beyond just the test score. It does look at reading at grade level, if students are at grade level or above, as well as it takes into account other measures like attendance and performance on beyond the core, like fine arts courses, career tech courses, world languages, as well as some pathway completion and other related performance measures. So I just wanted to point that out because it is more than a test and there are these components. So then when we take a look at our actual results for 2025, hopefully you can look at this report card. You can see how it's broken down by these 5 components, and you can see across the grade levels, elementary, middle, and high. And if you think about it like the dashboard, the sensors on your car, you can look and see that you've got that from an index of 0 to 100 in each of these categories. The green meaning all systems are go, like we are making incremental positive growth in each of these areas. And then your eye probably goes to the one area in high school where you see a red sensor light, which tells us, hey, it's just like the air pressure of my car. If that comes on overnight because the temperature dropped, no big thing. If I'm having that every day and for a month, then I need to take a closer look. There may be a nail in there. But so I'll talk more about when we looked under the hood there to see what's going on. But again, I'll say that we are making steady incremental growth. That's what this tool tells me, year over year. And we have some bright spots, particularly at the elementary level in the closing the gaps, which has to do with our student groups. All of the student groups, which examples would be students with disabilities, English learners, and then breaking down students by racial, ethnic groups, that we achieved at the elementary level, our schools, 100 points on that index, meaning that all of the subgroups have met those annual achievement targets for those student groups. So that's kudos to our elementary school, and a good goal for our middle and high school areas to continue working towards that. What else? Let's see. We also, as I mentioned, the area of concern at the high school level, when we look under the hood there, that progress measure is looking at student growth. And it's student growth in math and ELA, as well as progress towards English language proficiency for our English learners. And so we did have a year-over-year decline in English language proficiency at the high school level. So we had a drop, 12 points or such in that area. So we know that's contributing to that overall decline, as well as this one's in the area of English ELA, in the American Lit, is the end-of-course test. It's a little wonky, and it's good to know, but we think it's pulling it down, but it's also something that, as a system, a little beyond our control, in that there hasn't been that baseline to measure growth since around 2019. And part of that is then we had the pause of testing in 2020 for the pandemic. Then there was an optional year, and then we get back. So it's taken multiple years to even get to where the American Lit test was given again to then measure that growth against 2019 to last year's test. So that was quite some time, and that could be contributing to that slight increase. Something else I want to call your attention to, because you might be wondering, okay, so why in closing the gaps is it not comparable? And we have those numbers, and the reason being for that is has to do with mathematics. And last year, the new math assessment, new math standards, they did not count towards the subgroup closing the gap achievement targets. And it will, this year, will establish that, and we'll be able to then measure or have a year over year. So the state just didn't factor that into the calculation, so we can't talk about that category, that component, relative to year over year growth. Let's see. Yeah, so again, I just go back to, just another bright spot before I move on and looking at this. Lots of bright spots. But call your attention to in the progress category for elementary and middle, we outpaced, our year-over-year growth outpaced what the state growth was, so that's great. And the same for closing the gaps at elementary and at high school level, the graduation rate. So we're really proud of our teachers and our building leaders for that accomplishment. So moving on, in August, we were able to bring you an update on the board goals, the first and the second goals. We had that CCRPI data released at that point. Now, with this most recent of the entire package, coming out in November, we're able to bring you an update on that third board goal, which is a key performance indicator, and it's talking about making those, the increase of college career readiness index at the high school level, that 20% by gain by 2030. And again, I just want to set some context for this before I show you the results, because the state's really seeing what we're made of when we talk about high school readiness, college career readiness indicator. So hang with me, because we've got a tool, a system that is an index. It's a readiness index. And there are 5 key components, of which one is called readiness, that looks at those areas relative to reading at grade level, attendance, and has, performance beyond the core. Then at high school level, of those 5 areas, the 5th one is actually called College and Career Readiness Indicator. And so we'll look at the progress that we've made. This is at the high school level for that key performance indicator. And there are 5 key areas of which we earn points, or that by which we measure that high school, college, and career readiness indicator. And so the first bullet talks really about, when I told you that of the 5 components, one of them is readiness. We made increases as a district in 4 of the 5. And really, I'll just say, so you're aware, the one area that didn't, it was a 0.35 point decline. So essentially, we're hovering around making incremental progress in each of those, which is good news. And then for that 5th area, that college and career readiness indicator, there's, again, 5 areas where we measure, and those have to do with sending students off to 2- and 4-year colleges, with being able to take classes without any remediation, as well as how are our high school students graduating? How are they performing on the ACT, SAT, AP exams, IB? How about what's our work-based learning, participation in the military test readiness? So those are the specific areas that we measure. And overall, that indicator, as a district, we saw a 6.01 increase, which is great. And in that, the area that's really contributing to that is the end of pathway assessments. And we saw a 7-point year-over-year increase. So that really helped to pull that overall KPI, that indicator, up. And also of note, within that, the college career readiness indicator, all subgroups, all student groups made increases in each of those areas, which is good, which means we're making things happen for all students. So lastly, I'll just close by showing you the trajectory, where we are today, where the state is relative to this key performance indicator, so you can visually see our path forward to get to 2030 to that 69.3% of increase of students in high schools, increasing the number of at least one of those 5 indicators. So with that, I'll pause for questions or comments before I pass the mic off to my colleague, Shelley Goodrum, who really is going to be able to, what she shares is what's behind these numbers. How are we making these gains, or what are we doing to continue the growth through some really exciting programs and such. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And I'll open it up to any questions any board members may have. See down here, we'll start with Board Member Briscoe Brown, Board Member Johnson, Board Member Brooks.
Thank you for this presentation. There's clearly a lot of good news to share, and we're making a lot of progress. Going back to the one about, the one with all the green and the one red. I believe that was slide 3. Yeah, there. You referenced that the issue with the one that where we didn't make progress was English language learners. Have we analyzed what's going on there and what we need to do in order to bring that subgroup up to and beyond where we want them to be?
Yes, and we look at, and so you know, your building principals are amazing. In the school office, the associate soups are amazing in supporting them. They engage in data meetings, and I'll tell you what, they can tell you down to student names. When they look at their individual building CCRPI results, and they drill down, like, so what I've got here, my classroom is all students. And then as you start peeling back. So they can look and they can see the teaching and learning division, the supports that, and Dr. Goodrum and Dr. Love can speak specifically to what our English language coordinators and folks, specific strategies and curriculum and tiered supports that they're providing so that those students can make individual growth year over year. So,
Have we seen any gaps on a more general basis beyond the school building? Do we see any trends that we need to stop or any progress that we need to push forward and accelerate?
well, you know, the English language proficiency, I'd say, as a district and what you all are supporting that's in place this year, rolling out a new English curriculum and having those standards aligned resources and pulling in Mastery Connect so that you can get standard level view and take action, not a semester later after the test. You can take it the next day in the classroom because you know what standards relative to the area that we're using. It's actually, you know, the access test that they use for English learners. So did I answer your question in saying it's kind of
I think so.
high level system what we can do?
It sounds like we have a challenge with one particular subgroup. And so I just want to make sure that we are highly focused on that subgroup and are figuring out what the challenges are and how we can overcome those.
And keep in mind, and that is true, in each of these areas, we look at all student groups, of which English learners is one. However, for this particular progress, we look at the English language arts, mathematics, and English language proficiency for that group. So the state calls that group out to us and to all schools to say, hey, this needs to be a focus. These folks, this isn't their first language, and we want them progressing. So we're able to look at the data and look at the different bands, the levels, and see where, and we have, you're right, we have too many students in that first level and not making enough gains into the each of the 3 subsequent ones.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for the question.
Sure. Thank you. I was just making sure. So carrying on the theme of the subgroups, I know in previous meetings we emphasized that there was going to be additional supports and resources specifically for subgroups. And so I know on slide 5, you're saying all subgroups improve. What's the actual percentage? What do we see there? And then the same thing for increases in TCSG enrollment and ACT, SAT readiness scores. What were those actual numbers and increases that you're able to share?
Okay, yes, let me make sure that we're talking about the right slide, correct? At high school level, the college career readiness, and that, yes, that I'm saying, so just to kind of peel back that question. So when we're talking about all subgroups increased year over year, we're saying that in every one of those students with disability, English learners, economically disadvantaged than each of the ethnic racial groups, that year over year for these 5 different areas, we've made gains. And so, yeah, we can see, well, do you want to ask about a specific group, or do you want me to call out the ones of most concern for us, like economically disadvantaged and English learners and students with disability? We still have, like, students with disabilities, the biggest pain point, where we only have 24% of those showing, participation for these 5 categories, like going off to 2- and 4-year colleges without needing remediation, or scoring what we want on the ACT or SAT, the cut point for being prepared for college success, or participating in work-based learning. So we know that's a pain point. However, when I look at the year-over-year gains for each of these subgroups, they're healthy. So, for example, the students with disability, which I said was a big pain point here, in 2024, we had 16.7%. So to go year over year to 24.7%, that's not an easy task. That's a healthy percentage increase. So yes, we can and we do, and like we look at the district level, so we can make system improvements. But what's really key is then, Mr. Usher has the principal meetings, we bring data, we look at it, we look at not only this lagging milestone data, but we look at the MAP assessment, we look at right score. We look at all of the district, the informative assessments, and they have access to their students. That's, to me, much more meaningful. So then they can look at that data, come up with plans, why we have program level support, and go do something about it the next day in their school, in a classroom.
Okay, thank you. I think it would be helpful, for me at least, if we can see some of that subgroup data and as a follow-up.
I'll hand you my sheet, because if I'm finished here, and we can get more to you if you'd like. Yeah, okay. You ready for Mrs. Goodwin, or more questions? Comments? Okay. All right.
We have a few questions. We have Board Member Pace, and then down here we have Board Member Howard. Oh, it should be, I'm sorry.
No, it's all good.
Board
It's all
Member
good.
Brooks.
We look alike. So, I found that funny myself. So, I had the same thing. And this is my ask just to future-proof all of our presentations. And I've kind of noticed it become normative in many of our presentations that we talk about subgroups, but we do not show the numbers. And by us doing that, I'm getting a lot of messages from folks in the community that are wondering if we are hiding a slowdown of progress or whatnot. So my ask is that we be more transparent, specifically about subgroups, that we want all of the data. The data that you're able to look down at and verbalize to us is the data we would like to see in a slide. So that's my one ask, and that's for all the presentations. Like, if there are subgroups that are mentioned in the conversation, it would be helpful for us to be able to see what is happening with each subgroup, and also to be able to look year to year and be able to track progress or not. So I guess that's more of a statement and a request. One of my questions is, A, are we tracking the number of graduates that are attending college who are taking placement exams and finding out whether or not these students have to take a remediation course or not? And what is that looking like? And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that's a part of the CCRPI score for high school as well, on the readiness scale. So my ask would be, A, that can we have that information so that we can track, how many of our kids have to take that 100-level course that they're paying for but isn't giving them credits to graduate, right? That's a tax on our kids. And I think that's one of the things that we should be prioritizing to solve for. Also, what are our most tangible opportunities to improve CCRPI, especially around high school? I've seen at my own school, we dropped in CCRPI, and it had a lot to do with discipline and dress code, right? So I'm curious, like, what could we possibly help to support, either through policy or what have you, to get some real traction around high school CCRPIs?
Great questions, and I appreciate that, because here's a real opportunity, not just for the board, but for those who are listening. You can get publicly everything I have, which I did. If you just Google Godot CCRPI and then type in Atlanta Public Schools, and you can sit and click, it's all publicly available data that's on the web, and you can click by elementary, middle, high. You can click for whichever component you want, so you can go to high school. This sheet I printed is from the web, not even an internal. This is what Georgia released on November 12th. And it gives you, now I did have to combine the 2024 and 2025. The way they display it, it's 2 screens. So we put it side by side, so the year over year. But you can get that going back for every year since CCRPI for, again, the whole district, individual grade levels, each of the 5 components. And there's amazing amount of data. If you just GADOE.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing the resource and
And
where to
we-
get the data. I think
Yeah.
our ask is that you all synthesize the data for us so that it's
Yep,
easy
yep.
for us and the community
And
to
sure,
understand.
sure.
Thank you.
And then you're correct in that the number of students that are able to go to college without needing remediation, under that high school college career readiness indicator, there are 5 areas that you get points, and that is listed as the first. And again, on that same page, we've got 23.23%. That's an increase of 6.01 points from last year of students that we're sending off that then wouldn't have to pay for remediation or retake. And so that is tracked. And you had a third question,
Yeah.
a request.
It was just, what are the most tangible opportunities to improve CCRPI for high school?
Oh, correct. Well, there's some low-hanging fruit. There's lots of opportunity, and Ms. Goodrum will go into some specific areas relative to this KPI, the college career readiness. But for example, if you look at number of students, we get points for taking the military readiness, the ASVAB test. That looks like a low number because the way the state calculates that, it says like this year we had 1.46% who are achieve that score, that entry score that says success for military. Well, the way it's calculated, it doesn't mean, I think it's a 30 or higher you have to get. It doesn't mean that only 1.4% achieve that 30. The way they calculate is they say, how many eligible high school students do you have? And that figures into the calculation. So if you only have 20 kids taking the test, that's automatically going to pull down to make it smaller because they want more participation. It's exposure, it's awareness. So that's low-hanging fruit. We can say to students, hey, know about this. See if you have an aptitude. Similarly to work-based learning. And again, teaching and learning will get into those opportunities that we're looking at by creating these career pathways.
Just one point. We'll provide the drill down in the board update. I think one thing to know, if you go back to the closing the gaps, go back to the slide that's got all the stuff on there. Let's not miss that in 9 of 10 areas you've improved, right? And when you start to look at closing the gaps, that does get into the subgroup component. And then when you go forward to the next slide, go for one more slide. One more slide. Maybe one more for the one more. That's the one. So when we say all subgroups improved, like, we're not going to put that statement up there and it not be accurate. So we'll have a drill down. Also, just remember from a systematizing some of this work, that there's a mid-year update that'll come as a byproduct of the strategic plan that have all the key performance indicators that have been identified that are broke. Why don't you come up, Travis, and talk a little bit? That will be broken down by subgroup that the board will have full access to and can operate from. But we'll provide the breakdown in this area in the board update.
Ditto. Good afternoon. In January, the January board presentation, and instead of having separate objective deep dives like we're having tonight in the past few months, it'll just be a mid-year progress report for the district, looking at all of our key performance indicators, and even the ones that are annualized will provide either a leading indicator or something to show how we're doing compared to last year at the same time, broken down.
Board Member Pace?
Thank you so much. Really excited about the progress that we're making, and was thinking through, in theory, as we projected by 2030 to have that 5-point increase year over year to get the 20 points total, seems realistic. So I'm hopeful. Let's just put it that way. So thank you for that. Two quick kind of thoughts rather than questions per se, but we talked about English language learners, and Board Member Briscoe Brown mentioned when you think about the WIDA access proficiency scores, is there an opportunity as we do some of that data drill down to do maybe a crosswalk of kind of how those proficiency scores are looking over time, increase, decrease, or otherwise, in comparison to what we're seeing kind of for the total CCRPI score? Just thinking about how that might be helpful in terms of just analyzing, how one's tracking versus the other and impact. So that was just one thought. And then the other thought was, I know that we have been implementing benchmark and HMH, and if memory serves me correctly, Mr. Usher, help me with this. HMH is 6 through 12 in terms of the launch there, but I know there are content and strategy pieces around English language learners embedded within that. And so I'm just hopeful over time that as we've implemented that and it starts to take shape, that we'll see maybe that impacting this piece of the puzzle as well.
Yes, so Board Member Pace, you're absolutely correct. HMH is actually, we have it at the secondary level and elementary. At the elementary level, we have benchmark and HMH. And then 8-12, we just have HMH. To your question around the WIDA access scores, and so Margaret McKenzie does a great job of working with our second language teachers to ensure that they are crosswalking the WIDA scores with things like MAP and other internal assessment pieces to make sure that the teachers and the principals have the data that they need to inform instruction on a daily basis. And so she works directly with our ESOL teachers.
Thank you.
Board Member Zaff?
Actually, I think my questions around presentation were asked, so I'll defer the balance of my time to Board Member Baldwin.
Thank you, Board Member Zaff. So generous of you. So I just want to say this is something that is very near and dear to me. And I thought that we had gotten to a point of understanding around averages, that an average doesn't really tell me anything. It tells me nothing, because in order to get an average, you understand that there's people above and people below. It's a glimpse. So I appreciate the summary, but I do want to double click on the desire to understand what makes up that average, and including the subgroups. So it could be in an appendix. I will say that typically this is something that I would address in my one-to-one meeting, but because of the holidays that were so early, there really wasn't an opportunity to really look at the meat of the presentations. But I asked my colleagues, as well as everyone who ever touches a number, that you always consider the context of any percentage that you put in front of me, because a percentage means nothing if you don't understand the base, right? And you don't understand the pieces that make it up. So I issue that challenge that that we don't just look at what's sitting there in front of us. I know that we're looking deeper because we made the point, but in the spirit of building trust and staying accountable, I think it's very important that that information be included. Thank you.
No.
Thank you for yielding your time. I mean, obviously, gains that need to be recognized, and excited to see those. And I triple click on my colleagues' comments about just breaking down the data, because obviously these are all the schools. So, and knowing that we have that data, we share it open to the public, no one's hiding anything, but for us to be able to talk about it and really digest it at this point in time, I'm looking forward to hearing Ms. Goodrum's presentation next. And when I look at this, I really want to see, like, for the last point on the college and career readiness highlights, you know, what are the strategies we're specifically using right now? We know we're building for the future, but right now to increase how our students are doing in high school on end of pathway assessments. And the 7-point increase, like, I don't see where that is exactly. And when we're looking at all the ways we're measuring it, I mean, between ACT, SAT, IB, AP, obviously kids are doing differently in all those areas. We've seen that data, and there's a lot of opportunity there. But for us to really be able to discuss that here and talk about, you know, what's happening where. And I guess my one question and what we're doing to address gaps and opportunities, the 7-point increase in a pathway assessments, are we talking the end of pathway assessments are these listing of ACT, SAT, which exact end of pathways assessment?
Well, I see Dr. Wilson here, so she can expand, but when you have industry certified courses and pathways in these career clusters, and they take a test at the end, and they need to pass that test for it to count. So it's not just taking the courses, which are a 3-course progression. We want them to take and pass the courses, take that industry certified into pathway exam and pass it. So they are different than it would be if you're, you know, in one of the health science pathways, and to demonstrate mastery there, separate from if you take the ACT or SAT or an advanced placement. Those are different tests and different scores that the state is also saying that's an indicator of graduates being ready to succeed in college, or with the pathway exam, that's a way to say they're ready to succeed in the workforce. So I don't know if Tashara wants to add.
Good evening. Oh, I'm sorry. Good evening, everyone. Just a specific strategy regarding what we're doing to increase the end of pathway assessment scores. So each assessment comes with a blueprint, and we've been very intentional about ensuring that the instruction that we're delivering is aligned to that blueprint. We've also maximized the Teacher Keys evaluation system. It's more of a data review. And so we have a beginning of the year review, a mid-year review, where we're looking at all of the assessments and all of the things that we're doing day to day to ensure that students are on track to graduate. During the last meeting, we shared that 100% of our HVAC students passed the end of pathway assessment because of those strategies. We saw gains across the board because of those strategies.
And that's extremely helpful. And looking at this to see that breakdown as individual pathways, I do understand that that is the assessment at the end of those pathways, and familiar with ACCA. But even seeing that, so if there's an area of more opportunity, clearly more students taking advantage of that and being prepared, that helps us know how to better support as a board too. So that's a great example of getting granular so we really understand where the opportunity is. Thank you all for this, and look forward to the next presentation to see where we're going forward.
Thank you. One note I'll make, thank you very much. One note I'll make is there's a little bit of sequencing here that, and we'll also take note because we're live and in full effect. There's a little bit of sequencing that probably could be helpful from the standpoint of calendar of CCRPI. I think it was last month or month before we did a lot of our college and career like update. It was last month. And so from a sequencing standpoint, it's almost like you're hearing the update around some of the strategies, and then you're getting the data on the back end. We don't necessarily control when the state releases the data, but as far as the work that's going in, the actual inputs that are driving the outputs, that's where you hear about the actual work. Ms. Goodrum?
Good afternoon, Board Chair Mitchell, Vice Chair McDonald, Dr. Johnson and board, thank you for having me here this afternoon as we look at and explore our specialized and innovative school models. Looking through the lens of our strategic plan, we are sparking student curiosity, of course, by expanding access to our innovative model. But as we look ahead, we recognize that curiosity alone is not enough. The world around us is transforming faster than ever before, and education must evolve with it. Innovation in education, however, is no longer an option. It is essential. Our students, the world that our students are entering is changing faster than the systems designed to prepare them for it. When we think about artificial intelligence or automation or the creative economy, those things are redefining what it means to be ready for college, career, and for life. And so here's the reality. If we continue schooling the way in which we have always done it, we risk preparing our students for a world that no longer exists. So let's talk about the why. As we think about expanding innovation in Atlanta Public Schools, our work is motivated by two clear things. The first is to promote engagement and readiness. Every student in Atlanta Public Schools deserves the right to engage in learning that is relevant, to engage in learning that is rigorous and connected to the real world. When students see the why behind what they're learning, they're able to link that algebra equation to aviation or that science experiment to a healthcare career. When they see that connection, they lean in, they engage, and they excel. Our second motivation is this. It's to increase enrollment and sustainability. The reality is that families across Metro Atlanta are making choices. And they're doing so based on three things. They're doing so based on relevance, based on outcomes, and based on access. And so now by expanding our innovative portfolio, we keep our families in the district. And we also begin to attract new families into this community of believers. And so now when our two motivations work together, engagement fuels excellence and innovation drives enrollment. And so when they come together, APS remains the destination district for Atlanta because we are and will continue to be Atlanta's public school system. Parents today are very discerning consumers of education, as they should be. That's fair. They no longer simply enroll, though. They choose. About 11,000 students are not choosing their neighborhood school. Parents choose based on opportunity. They choose based on relevance, but they also choose based on trust. Trust in a system that it prepares their students for success. We've got to get our families back. We've got to get our families back because right now, multiple schools in surrounding districts are offering innovative models. Multiple school districts have expanded their portfolio. When we look at our neighboring districts and they have these multiple and innovative schools that are meeting the needs of their community, it could be schools of the art. It could be schools of technology. It could be schools of biomedical. Surrounding districts are expanding their portfolio. So let's talk about our portfolio. Within APS, Best Academy and Coretta Scott King Young Women's Leadership Academy represents two existing models that are offering amazing opportunity for our children. And today we have Spot, but we also have two of our amazing scholars from Best and CSK that are going to come and talk about their experience and what innovation has done for them.
Hello. こんにちは。私の名前はナオミです。CSK 高校10年生で5年前日本語に勉強しています。どうぞよろしくお願いします。Good afternoon. My name is Naomi, and I'm a proud student at CSK. I stand before you today as living proof that CSK truly fosters globally conscious, college, and career-ready individuals. One of the greatest opportunities CSK has provided me with is the opportunity to study Japanese and other languages like Spanish, French, German, and Chinese starting all the way back in middle school. That access has shaped my learning, my confidence, and even my future goals and aspirations. Because of the support I received at CSK, I had the incredible opportunity to study abroad in Japan for a full week last summer. Experiencing another culture firsthand opened my eyes and sparked a passion for international studies, which is something I pray to continue beyond high school. I'm now taking AP Japanese, which is helping me prepare for college level rigor. CSK also pushes us to be STEMinists in a world where technology is constantly evolving. As a sophomore, I've already taken 4 AP classes, 2 of which include AP Computer Science courses. These classes have strengthened my computer literacy, while my role on our award-winning robotics team has helped me deepen my understanding of technology and problem solving. But CSK isn't just about STEM. It's a place where young women can express themselves through the arts, STEAM rather. I'm a proud member of Georgia's first all-girl female drumline. My love for the arts and the encouragement I've received at CSK have even inspired me to start my own nonprofit organization focused on supporting women's mental health through art therapy. I'm kind of new to that kind of stuff. It's my first time ever doing something like that. But like at CSK, ideas are celebrated, so I know my teachers will support me. With a 4.1 GPA and involvement in multiple honor societies and organizations such as SGA and APS Student Advisory Council, CSK has pushed me to be my best. The teachers here see our potential, nurture us, and want to see us bloom. I am forever grateful for the way CSK has shaped me into the globally conscious, college, and career-ready STEMinist that I am today. The opportunities there are limitless, and the love is endless. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Mario Majet, and I am a senior at the Best Academy at the Thomas W. Deutsch Institute. I was asked today to speak about my experiences at my school, and I figured what better way for me to do that than to talk about myself and my personal experience. So first of all, our school is very STEM-oriented, and a lot of the classes are basically based around STEM. So I've been a part of the engineering pathway for 3 years, and I completed it last year. And ever since I started at the Best Academy, it has boosted my love for engineering, mathematics, and science. So it has shown how much of a STEM-oriented school we are. Another thing about Best Academy is that robotics. Last year, I was the junior coach for the middle school robotics team where they went to the competition and they won the entire thing. And basically, that was a good experience. That was a good experience that helped me to learn leadership and to guide the people that were younger than me, that were growing up to follow in my footsteps at Best Academy. Another thing that I have experienced at Best was the STEM pod, in which we come together and talk about ideas of how we could help our community of being in a food desert. So one of the things that we came up with was the agricultural pod that we have. My apologies. It was the agricultural pod that we finally have on our campus. We unveiled it a couple of weeks ago, and it is a very innovative piece of technology that costs around $500,000, and it was donated to us by a company after we went to a conference in Savannah. One of my favorite things about Best Academy is the leadership and the staff there. One person that I like personally is our counselor, Mr. Randolph. He has allowed us seniors to go on multiple college tours, to tour different facilities to see which college would be the best fit for us. And another thing I like is the other trips that we have to different parts of the country, such as the trips to Gettysburg that we take every year. And when I went, it was a great experience to finally get out of the state and see around and look around different states of the country. And basically, that's all I really have to say for the Best Academy. But personally, it has really changed me and helped me to be a better person and a better man. Thank you.
And before I go, I have to mention our robot bot. He's our AI dog, and we have him for our Foundations of AI class at CSK and engineering class. So we've just been working with him. He has 4 sensors in his legs, which help him move around. He has 2 LiDAR sensors, which help him sense the environment around him, and also a flashlight. He can do like plenty of tricks too. So I'll have him wave to you all. Boss says, nice to meet you. Thank you for having us.
Can we just recognize our scholars again? That was amazing. So as we bring this strategy to life, let's talk about our multi-year timeline that outlines how innovation will move from concept to classroom. So right now, we are in winter 2025, and through spring of 2026, we're going to continue our stakeholder engagement and needs assessments as we move through the first wave of our innovative models. Moving into now spring 26 into summer 26, we're going to focus on design and development. So what does that look like? That looks like building curriculum frameworks. That looks like determining staffing structures. That also looks like establishing our partnership agreements to ensure that our schools are ready for a successful launch in 2027. And so once we launch in 27, we will then move into full sustainability and scaling, which means we're going to expand what works, of course, measure our outcomes, and use those lessons learned to expand further our portfolio. So as you can see, this timeline ensures that we have urgency, but we have balanced urgency along with structure and sustainability. We've been listening, and we've been listening closely. We've been listening closely because the voice of our community matters. Students matter, our parents matter, and board members, thank you because your support matters. Thank you for attending our visioning sessions. As you saw, these visioning sessions were a key component to this phase because they were structured opportunities for our families, our community, our educators to come together and shape what innovation will look like in APS. We're going to continue to gather that feedback, the inspirations, the desires, the dreams, but also what our families are curious about and the desires of what they want to see in our schools. The community voice is shaping this work every step of the way. And I will repeat that because this is a critical phase. The community voice is shaping this work every single step of the way. And so as we continue, our focus is on designing learning experiences, of course, that reflect these same interests and aspirations. And this work calls for us to be very intentional about preparing our scholars for the future that they are stepping into. And as I said earlier, the world around us is ever changing. And it's our responsibility not just to equip our students to adapt, but it's our responsibility to equip them to lead. And so with that in mind, we've identified 4 key opportunities. The Atlanta School of the Arts, biomedical for healthcare sciences, literacy, and also expanding our Carver Early College in addition to our 3DE at South Atlanta High School. And each of these represents a very strategic investment into the student interest, but also workforce readiness and high quality academic design. So let's talk about one of the most exciting models that we are exploring, the Atlanta School of the Arts at Carver, and I like to call it the potential Juilliard of Atlanta. Because as you know, Atlanta influences everything. And our students are already active contributors to that landscape. You see them, they write, they design, they dance, they produce, they innovate, and they all do that with a high level of talent that deserves focus and intentional development, but it also deserves a world-class facility. According to the America for the Arts, 86% of Americans say that arts and culture are important to their community's quality of life and livability. We see that in Atlanta. Arts is one of the fastest sectors, growing sectors in our region, generating billions of dollars in economic impact and shaping the identity of our city. APS students should be positioned to lead in this space. The Atlanta School of the Arts has the potential to become a nationally recognized hub of culture and creativity. This model could combine rigorous academics with artistic training in visual arts, digital design, music, dance, theater, and film. Students will definitely benefit from our partnerships that we would have with leading institutions such as the High Museum of the Arts, or the Alliance Theater, or the National Black Arts Festival. Recently, during our November 20th Superintendent's Office Hours, students also emphasized some of their dreams and wants. And they said, guess what? We want internships. We want real world learning. And we also want what we just saw, the integration of STEM into the arts. They also highlighted additional fields that they wanted. They wanted digital design and music production, all of the things that shape their work. And so the Atlanta School of the Arts takes that creative work that students are already doing, but it helps them to refine it. It helps them to elevate and change it into meaningful opportunity that prepares them for life. The Academy for Biomedical and Healthcare Sciences will give our students early access to one of the most influential and fastest growing sectors in our country. So imagine this. Imagine an APS senior, their college application, already including meaningful exposure to the medical institution that they're trying to enter. Or our seniors wearing their white coats at their white coat ceremony because they see themselves as future clinicians, future researchers, or future innovators. We are building right now relationships with leading partners in the medical education who are not only eager to open the doors to our students, but they're also eager to come into our schools and engage directly with our scholars. And so this model positions our students to step into high-impact healthcare careers with clarity, purpose, but also real preparation. And so as Dr. Mincy comes and prepares to talk about our literacy initiative, one thing is clear, that our data demands urgency and critical space in the area of literacy. So whether students are studying the arts or they're studying biomedical, it doesn't matter. Their success hinges on reading, writing, and critical thinking. And we're clear that innovation cannot exist without literacy. Dr. Mincy?
Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Mincy and the Executive Director of Elementary Curriculum and Instruction. And Shelley just took my talking points. Thank you. All right, so let's talk about literacy. As we talk about the different pathways to engage our students and to move our district forward in a futuristic way, what we cannot forget is the largest elephant in the room, and that is literacy. And those are our literacy rates. So over the past 10 years, we have not seen much movement in our third grade ELA literacy scores. And I'm focusing on ELA in third grade because we need to think about what are we doing in the early literacy space. So as we move forward and we think about 2040, we have the opportunity to rethink how we do literacy and what we can do differently to crack the code, because we have to make a change and we have to do things differently. And that might mean how we staff schools. That might mean how we compensate teachers. That might mean we need to think about what are we doing. And we have invested a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of passion in trying to accelerate literacy. However, we continue to be stagnant. And so we are poised to come together and try to answer this question. How can we design an innovative school model to accelerate early literacy? Not doing something new, but taking the next step forward. And so we want to have aggressive literacy acceleration. And as we move forward in 2040, we want to take the dollars that we are gaining and reinvest back into our own school district and back into our own schools. And so we've added this conversation to our visioning meetings to hear from our community so that we can learn what the community what the community wants to do in our literacy space. And so on the slide, you can see where we have taken some of that feedback and placed it here as we listen to the community. But the biggest thing is we do not want to do this in a silo. And so we are joining together with literacy leaders, with community organizations, and with district leaders in Atlanta to form the APS Literacy Council. In that APS Literacy Council, we are going to co-create an innovative school model that accelerates literacy. That first meeting is happening actually next week. We are trying to go big, we're trying to go bold, and we're trying to go fast, with even a start date as early as August 2026. Because every single moment that we do not make a pivot, we are losing out on accelerating literacy for our most vulnerable learners and our most important learners, and that's all of our students in Atlanta Public Schools.
.3DE. We are bringing back 3DE to South Atlanta with a stronger, more sustainable focus. As you know, this model is not new to our district. We saw early iterations in 2017 at Douglas High School and also in 2019 at South Atlanta. And so just to refresh your memory, these experiences, one thing it did, it confirmed, number one, that 3DE is a powerful approach. And they also made it clear that in sustaining this work, that we have to be intentional about district support, but also about a shared commitment. 3DE pushes our students, and it pushes them beyond the traditional academics into real problem solving. In this model, students collaborate with their business partners, their community members, or their educators to address authentic challenges in the business world. And so they receive projects, and these projects are attached to the core content, and along with essential workforce, they learn life skills, including communication, including critical thinking, and collaboration. And so through our partnership with 3DE, students will have the opportunity to be mentored by Fortune 500 company owners. They will also engage in case studies, which reflect the risk, the questions, and the strategic challenges that these companies are engaging in. And so they'll be able to apply their entrepreneurial thinking and present their solutions directly to the company executives through what is called a formal pitch presentation. And so the goal for South Atlanta is to perfect this model by strengthening the instructional design in support of teachers and students. And so once we establish this strong foundation, we will scale 3DE thoroughly to consider what those lessons learned and possibly expand this so that other students and other schools can benefit from this high level of real-world engagement. We are also exploring opportunities to scale Carver Early College. One thing that Carver has shown us is that when students excel, when they are placed in a structured environment and a supportive environment that blends high school and college. This model gives, as you know, students an opportunity to earn transferable college credits while still in high school. It accelerates their learning for post-secondary study, but it also reduces the time and cost to the family with the time that it takes to complete a degree. So imagine the skills that these students are engaging in. They develop what it takes to take on college-level courses. They learn to navigate new environments, but they also learn to manage the demands of college. They build a level of stamina that they need to excel beyond high school. So expanding this model beyond Carver would allow more APS students to benefit. Presently, the reality is that early college opportunities vary across our district. So scaling this model would allow students in any neighborhood, regardless of zip code. It would allow them to have access to high-quality programming that advances their careers. So next steps. To bring this vision to life, the next steps are clear, but they're also very deliberate. We will continue engaging stakeholders across the district through our community engagement sessions, through student engagement sessions, but also through our superintendent office hours. We're going to launch an aggressive, comprehensive awareness and feedback campaign so that every community is aware and understand what lies ahead, but also has a voice in shaping it. This work is not something that we are going to do to our community. This is something that we are going to do with our community. We're going to also strengthen our relationships with our key partners and help collaborate closely with APFE to secure the support that we need to make sure, not just so that our models thrive, but so that they also sustain. Because it's simple. Strong partnerships equal strong pathways for students. And we intend to build the kind of partnerships that sustain innovation in our district over time. The next steps, all of these next steps position us to be focused, but also purposeful. And so I said something in the beginning that I believe bears repeating. I said that if we continue schooling in the way in which we've always done it, we risk preparing our students for a world that no longer exists. But when we innovate, when we dare to imagine classrooms where creativity flourishes and students find their voice, wow. Think about the possibilities. That is how you prepare students for their future. I admit it, the work ahead is bold. The work ahead is absolutely necessary, though. Our students are counting on us, and we are positioned, and we are ready to deliver. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Your new role is sitting well on you, Dr. Goodrum. Questions over here? None? Just Cynthia Shippey? Yeah. Okay, we'll go around there. Cynthia, please.
Thank you. This was really inspiring and exciting. I can't wait to see where this goes. I do have one question, and that is about how particularly the specialized schools, the art school and the biomedical sciences school, how do those dovetail with and affect current programs that we have, whether at the Atlanta College and Career Academy or in individual high schools? And how do we protect students who may want to take dance classes but not be part of the Intensive Arts Academy? Are we talking about doing away with programs other than at these specialized schools?
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in a little bit and y'all build on it. So this isn't a do away with anything, isn't the goal. I will say, I think when you commit to going to the School of the Arts, you're committing to go to the School of the Arts. And so it'd be a full day program where you get intensive from folks that are experts in those particular areas. I think it would be great. Dr. Wilson, if you want to speak a little bit to it, or Ms. Goodrum, or Mr. Usher, you all speak a little bit to how you see, in particular, the biomed not having an adverse impact on what is there. And frankly, this is a byproduct of the high levels of interest that we see in the medical field and the demand that's there. So I'll let you jump in.
Yes, ma'am. All right. So ACCA is not going anywhere, to his point. And we want to ensure there is a high demand for students that want to participate in healthcare pathways. Each and every year, we have a waiting list of students that want to participate. So this is actually going to support student interest and aptitude, as we find with the Youth Science Career Assessment data, to meet the needs of our students.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we need, as we go forward, to make it clear to the community that we're not talking about limiting opportunities only to those who want a professional career in the arts, or who want to attend a school like that full time. I think there is some concern that we will not be creating well-rounded students if we limit those opportunities, and we just need to make that really clear going forward. That all our schools are still going to have arts, all our schools will still have career opportunities, and as you said, Dr. Wilson, the ACCA is not going away.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. J, did you want to? No. I saw you motioning, just checking. Yeah. Okay. Shivi.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the presentation. I really want to just show appreciation for your opening and what you spoke to, Dr. Goodrum, in terms of how we need to be pivoting and retooling ourselves as an education system to prepare our kids for the future that will be existing, as opposed to one that might not. I think that's a very valid point, and I just appreciate you saying that. I had some questions about slide 10, where we talked about choice. We talked about the 11,000 APS kids who live in the city of Atlanta proper, but are making other choices in terms of education, right? My question is, how many of our families are utilized in the Georgia Promise Scholarship Program? How many of them were previously not enrolled in APS before the program came? And how many have made a choice to go private now that that program is in place? Have we quantified that yet?
That's a great question, Board Member Brooks. We have not quantified that information just yet, but we'll definitely look into it and get that information back to you.
But we are now in a position to be able to quantify that? Because I think before we didn't necessarily have all the data or something.
Go ahead, Doc. Yeah, we don't have the data just yet, to be perfectly honest, but we're committed to getting the information and getting you a response as soon as we can.
Okay, that is a thing that we can do. We don't have to go advocate at the state or do any extra stuff to get visibility on that.
Let us do some more digging
Yeah.
on it. I think I have some information handy. I'm actually trying to look back and check. But we'll be able to get our hands on, we know about how many students. At one time, it was about 300 or so students that were taking advantage of the voucher. What
Right.
we don't know, or scholarship, whatever you want to call it.
I'll call it a voucher.
But what we don't know, and what we're trying to get our arms around, and don't believe we have just yet, because it's not been released to us from the state, is how many of those students were actually initially APS students versus, to your earlier question, never maybe an APS student that's now taking advantage of it.
Yeah, I just have a lot of curiosities around that, right, and what the true impact of the voucher program is on the district in terms of enrollment. The other question I have is, are we in communication with the Atlanta Chamber and our corporate neighbors to better understand their labor and innovation needs, such to inform our programmatic strategies so that we ensure that there's more APS in Atlanta companies?
Yes, and so I'll turn it over to the true expert, but part of the reason we're leading with some of these recommendations is because of our engagement with the Atlanta Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you.
Because they provided some data around what are some of the leading high-demand industry demand careers, and so that's why we're leading with some of the recommendations around biomedical and arts and all the other different ones, Board Member Brooks.
Yeah, well, I think what would be, thank you for that, and I'm grateful that that's what we have done. I think it would definitely be helpful for us in how we share, how we've come to these decisions on what programs we're going to invest in and that kind of thing with the community, to be able to say, hey, look, Microsoft told us, Grady told us, Wellstar told us, to be able to say that, I think would be helpful so that folks understand that we have like educated guesses on what we're investing in and why we're doing it. But amazing presentation. Thank you so much for you guys' work. Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Great, thank you. Katie, did you, or Ken, oh, how dare I skip? It's fine, listen, go ahead.
Thank you, Ms. Goodrum. Lots of good stuff here, and thanks for coming to our Katie and I's community meeting last week. I thought a lot of good information. This is a heavy lift. This is a lot. I mean, and you can just see it's just slide after slide of like, wow, that's a lot, that's a lot, that's a lot. How, to me, there in our experience, I think there's some distance between folks being interested in something and parents deciding, and kids and students deciding, I'm going to travel across the city, I'm going to depart from my social network, and I'm going to be a part of something new and experimental. Give us a sense of how you're thinking about positioning this with families to actually pick up and invest their time and energy and their education in a different option when they may have chosen very intentionally to go to move their whole family and their whole social network to be in a certain school boundary.
Yeah, so I'll get us started. And so one of the ways that we're thinking about positioning it, Ms. Goodrum spoke about the community engagement sessions. And so one way that we're thinking to launch any of the programs, Board Member Zeff, is really just making sure that we are in constant communication in the design phase, but then also as we launch the different academies and programs, that we're also out there sort of marketing the programs to the community so that they understand along the way what we're offering and we're intending to serve, and how we're intending to serve our students and our families. And so as part of the sort of project management portion of the work, it is making sure that we have a clear community and parent engagement plan so that parents are aware of what we are doing and how it will benefit the students. And so that's just kind of like a broad stroke of how we're thinking to look at it on the front end.
I'm not looking for the answer right now, but I just be thinking about this is maybe the largest investment that families make is where to send their child to school. And it's maybe even rivals with the purchase of their house or anything else that they do. And so let's go full on in terms of all of the communication, all of the thoughtful planning, because this is not taking an after school program or joining a sports team or something that you might do. And look, if it didn't work out, I think Dr. Johnson was clear. Like if you're going to the School of Arts, you're going to the School of Arts.
Correct.
That's not, you're not taking an extracurricular program on the weekends or something. And so I think to get people to make that intellectual leap and that emotional leap, we're going to really have to invest deeply. And it may take a minute. It may not happen straight away. It may take a couple cycles while we build up that reputation. But just keep that in mind.
Yep.
And then just the other question I had for actually Dr. Mincy about the Literacy Council. There you go. Yeah, see, everyone, you only got one slide, but it's important stuff. Tell me how, or can you walk us through, like, is this the reboot of Readers Are Leaders? Like, this is not, and let me just make sure I understand. This is, because it was tucked in to conversations about new school models, choice models. This is not choice model. This is something that you're working on to help infuse into our schools to address early literacy. Okay, I got that right. Okay, so tell me, so how does this, put this in context for us about some of the other investments, both, organizationally and financially, that we've made into literacy? Where does this fit?
So if you think about Readers as Leaders, that program was really centered around how we're training and like a train-the-trainer model. So we put a lot of investment into training our instructional coaches, our literacy coaches in the science of reading. We also stipend teachers to go through the Cox Campus training so that they can get trained in the science of reading as well. We're still doing that, actually. So our new teachers that are coming in, they're still getting a stipend, not as much as we invested last year, but they're still getting that. This is actually something, this is taking the step forward. So as we look at the money that we have invested and the time we've invested, we're just not seeing the acceleration that we're looking for. So if you look at our ELA scores, it's stagnant, but if you break that score down and look at our students that are reading on grade level in elementary, we are seeing some incremental growth each year over the past 3 years. However, we're not seeing the acceleration that we're looking for. So this is an innovative school model where we would infuse into one of our existing schools and think about how we can redesign the school so that we can accelerate literacy in our most vulnerable populations. So we're meeting with some of our literacy organizations like United Way, Junior League, Georgia State University, the Speech School, Shelter in Arms, YMCA, Redefine Ed. There are several organizations around Atlanta coupled with our literacy leaders in our district where we're coming together to really build that out.
Okay, so this is the next generation of that work and trying
Absolutely.
to figure
It's
out.
the next step forward, yes,
that's
in a
helpful.
very aggressive manner, yes.
And would we expect to see this then in just our schools where we're underperforming?
That's where we're
expectation?
starting.
Okay.
Yes, so that's where we're starting, but we also are hoping to build out a plan so that it's two parts, right? So you focus on your most vulnerable areas, but then you also have to think about, well, if we're putting this innovative model in our most vulnerable areas, well, what about everybody else? Like, we still want to accelerate literacy across the board. So we'll have a district rollout, a plan for how do we build capacity in literacy across our district, but then we will also have an intensive focus in our most vulnerable areas.
That's helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that, because one of the questions I've gotten is, what is the why behind literacy for this whole entire plan? I mean, clearly it's all of these things. Like Dr. Zev said, this is a huge lift, but thank you for laying that out. And I know we just started with the visioning sessions, but I think that's something the community is really craving to hear more about. So I'll just mention that too. And thank you, Board Member Brooks, for bringing up Metro Chamber of Commerce. They do sit on the ACCA board, and they actually shared data with us recently about where the demand is, and that's how we narrowed down 2 new pathways. So invite you to come hear from them too. Tim Gale is awesome. My question is around engagement, and thank you all for the engagement you've done. I've sat in on 2 visioning sessions, one at Long and Herman J. Russell, and it's great to hear the real-time feedback, and there's a lot of interest, there's a lot of questions, and there's a lot of push and hold to us, like accountability for the areas of need that clearly the community is all too familiar with. And around engagement, I know the last slide kind of broke down next steps, and I understand that, we're getting through December and we're getting to January and there's more to come. But can you give us a little more behind, like the different groups that will be looking at the areas of focus, like the School of the Arts, expansion of early college, and then I'll be selfish for a moment, Carver. Like, that's a different situation. In each cluster to an extent is, but kind of how that looks so the community knows what to expect or listen out for, because they really want to be aware and involved to the extent they should be.
Yeah, so I'll jump in a little bit, then ask you all to jump in as well. So we've had 5 visioning meetings over the last I don't know, month-ish, and got a lot of really good feedback and input from those. We'll synthesize that. Tommy and his team, Shelley, are already working through that data and information. We'll go back out in the spring, and there will be, it'll really be a combination of budget. Here's what we heard from these meetings, connected to beginning to talk to the community around budget priorities and kind of where we are. We want to engage them around our budgeting process. At least I've been having that conversation, connected to the strategic plan, connected to the priorities, and there's more to come around that. The other thing that's going on concurrently, the couple things that'll be going on concurrently is the task force has subcommittees that are set up by kind of thematic area, not necessarily school, but by thematic area. And then the third element, in addition to the broad community meetings, the task force meeting, there will be individual conversations and such that are not meetings, but committees that are created based on the specific topic. So you use the School of the Arts. You think about even some more tactical things that are connected to the facility plan, like if you have multiple campuses that are coming together, we're going to want to bring those school communities together and talk about where they want to go. And so those things will be happening all at the same time, but that'll start in earnest as we come back from winter break.
That's extremely helpful. Thank you. And when I say the extent the community should be involved, they should always be engaged. But I know there are different phases, like the subgroup, really looking at those areas of focus and development, and then awareness, and then participating in what's coming next for the impact of those schools. So thank you all so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Katie. Dr. J?
Yeah, one thing real quick, I want to make sure we have available and point the public to, connected to CCRPI, and as we transition to this, we'll also transition to our next presentation from Ms. Saracen, Crystal, to come up and talk about family engagement. But this brief is online. That is around CCRPI, and if you go to like slide 7, 8, 9 within this brief, it actually breaks down the subgroup information. It breaks down all the data. So our performance team does a really nice job of putting together information. A lot of times, folks that are extremely strong in numbers don't always think about how to articulate their work and shine a light on the work that they do. But this is readily available. So we've got to do a better job of showing the work. There's nothing that we're trying, this is online, available for everybody, and actually with a level of synthesis behind where we are, where we go. So, Ms. Saracen, are you going to say Tommy? No, you're good.
All right.
Thank you, Ms. Goodrum and all that presented. Ms. Saracen, family engagement.
Oh, I see. Thank you. All right. In her absence, greetings, board member, Chair Mitchell, Vice Chair McDonald, Dr. Johnson, and members of the board. I am Crystal Saracen, but Dr. Johnson, in case my in-laws ever see this recording, it is Crystal Saracen. But I will give you a pass. I give you a pass today.
I'm just going Crystal. I'm going to stay
We'll
right.
just stick with Crystal. We'll stick with Crystal. I am the program manager in the Office of Family Engagement, and today I have the pleasure of sharing with all of you all on updates on family engagement throughout our district. My objectives for the next few minutes are to provide you with an overview of the district's approach to family engagement, to review our strategic steps that we are taking to increase access for families. I want to illustrate the meaningful work that is going on in our schools, and hopefully reignite your belief in the power of parent partnership. So right now, there is a grandmother navigating a new normal as a primary caretaker for her 8-year-old grandson. Her name is Miss Shabazz, and she asked me to share her story with you today. Miss Shabazz is a grandmother who wants to learn. When her 2nd grade grandson came home referring to my backpack, she had no idea what he was talking about or how to help him. She reached out to his teacher, who sat down with her and helped her understand that my backpack was not that Spider-Man bag on her couch. My backpack is an online platform of learning applications for students and for parents. Ms. Shabazz says that quick tutorial did wonders for her confidence, and when her grandson came home, she knew how to help him. She knew how to support him. The teacher she reached out to is Mr. King, who is described by his assistant principal as a straightforward communicator. Mr. King involves families, he teaches them, and most importantly, he works alongside families to grow students. Mr. King is a teacher willing to partner. Now meet KJ. That's Ms. Shabazz's little grandson. He is a 2nd grader at E. Rivers who is making positive gains in reading because his grandmother now knows how to navigate the digital tool like my backpack and reinforce the instruction that is going on in the classroom. KJ's growth is the result of strong school-family partnership. So next year, when we look at the data for our 3rd grade students that Dr. Mincy shared earlier, KJ is going to be reflected. Thankfully, he's on track to be in the percentage of students that are performing above proficiency in ELA. As you saw, there are a number of students, too many students, that are not on track. So how can partnerships like those between Ms. Shabazz and Mr. King help to get our students where they need to be? Ms. Shabazz is one of thousands of grandparents and parents in Atlanta. Mr. King is one of our talented educators, and there are 50,000 KJs who are entrusted to Atlanta Public Schools. Their success is our shared responsibility. We ensure student success by increasing access and engagement for families and communities, or as I like to say, we are helping parents to help their kids. Our current family engagement strategies are centered on building the capacity of stakeholders, which is a federal requirement for all of our 67 Title I schools, and it's a district expectation for all of our 85 schools. And it's also an essential condition across this organization. The first strategy is to promote schools' efforts to engage parents as partners. To help me illustrate the effectiveness of building staff capacity, I've asked Ms. Consuelo Hutchins to join me. Consuelo, where you at? Oh, come on. Consuelo is one of our parent liaisons at Dobbs Elementary.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to speak on family engagement with something that is really dear to my heart, and I'm very passionate about it. For we all know that our families are connected to their child's education, and when they are, everything changes. For our research shows that family engagement is one of our strongest predictors of students' success. Students do better academically, their behavior improves, and attendance improves, and confidence grows. And the best part, the results are seen regardless of their income, their background, or their education level. But in communities like ours, high poverty communities, family engagement looks just a little different. Most of our parents are facing real life barriers. And as the parent liaison, we're here, our job and our responsibilities are to help those parents overcome some of those barriers. A lot of those barriers are working multiple jobs. Some of our barriers are grandparents raising kids, most of them working, trying to keep food on the table, and some just have limited literacy education. So as parent liaison, we kind of step in and try to help some of those barriers. So our mission becomes a little clear. We meet families where they are. with respect, compassion, and support. We do this by simplifying communication. So getting rid of a lot of the jargon and talking to families in ways that make them feel comfortable and making sure that everything's clear where they can understand what's going on. We use multiple ways to reach them: face-to-face communication, phone calls. Some schools have class dojos, message, visuals, and community partners. We create events that remove barriers: family-friendly time, free meals, celebrations, and activities that allow parents to engage, even if they can't read or write on a high level. I am one of the 36 parent liaisons who support traditional APS schools. However, APS schools, this traditional, partner, and charter, has a family engagement leader and a designated staff member who is leading the work. I happen to be my leader at my school that does this work. And as the parent liaison, it is my responsibility to build the capacity of my colleagues. I help them to build partnerships with parents. I promote relationships building. I offer practical workshops, and I also encourage two-way communication. Family engagement is not a one-woman show. Every staff member at my school has a shared responsibility to connect with students' families, whether it's at school workshops, parent-teacher conferences, via dojos, school staff, or just connecting with parents about their child's education. And yes, we do all this work while with using limited resources. We know sometimes our financial is limited, staff limited, time is limited. It's limited, but our commitment is not limited. We maximize what we have. We partner with community organizations. We stretch every dollar. We make sure that every event, every phone call, every interaction counts, because relationship matters more than resources. And relationships are what drive real engagement. This brings me to one of our most powerful roles in our school building, and that is my role, parent liaisons. Parent liaisons are the bridge. We are the voice connecting home and school. We are heartwarming welcome at the door, the listening ear, problem solver. We are the resource provider, of course, and the encourager. On any given day, we wear different hats. And as a parent liaison, we can do just about anything. We advocate, we translators, we motivators, we're event planners, we connectors, and sometimes even counselors. We step into the gap to support families who might otherwise fall through the cracks. And why does this matter? It matters because our families are empowered. When our families are empowered, students thrive. When parents feel valued and included, students walk into school with confidence. When communication is clear and relationships are strong, academic achievement rises. Our job is not just getting parents into the building. It's about building trust, dignity, and belonging. It's about showing families that no matter what challenges they face, they are partners in their child's education. And in communities with most need, our work becomes even more powerful. Family engagement is not an extra. It is not an add-on. It is essential. So today, as we continue to serve students and family, let us remember this: every phone call matters. Every conversation matters. Every outreach, every smile, every event, big or small, moves a child closer to success. Now, as a parent liaison, educator, and support staff, we are helping build the foundation that our children will stand for the rest of their lives. Thank you.
I really could have let Consuelo do the whole thing. Thank you so much, Consuelo. So she spoke to one of our strategies, which is building staff capacity, helping our teachers, educators, front office staff, support staff, and even our principals to effectively partner and engage families to ensure student success. What you don't see in that first arrow is some of the strategies that we provide our parent liaisons and our family engagement leads during their professional development. The first one is around parent-teacher academic conferences. We provide data-driven family engagement resources. We provide instructional technology tools and parent portal access. An example of one of those strategies is in front of you right now, and that is the Parent-Teacher Academic Conference Guide, one for staff and one for parents. Because we know that having a conversation that is centered around data, that is filled with educational jargon, does not come naturally to both parties. And so as a team and as a district support, we aim to provide that guidance to our instructional staff, but also to the families, to be able to equip them with some of the language going prior to a conference so that the families feel confident that we boost their self-efficacy before they are in front of that child's teacher, so that they are going into the meeting as a partner and not just a recipient. Some of the other strong engagement practices going on around our schools are around literacy nights, data digs, and parent leadership mixers. These opportunities give our families a chance to understand data, to lead with it, and to know how to complement it at home. We're building peer-to-peer connections and community amongst families. And we're demonstrating ways that families can support literacy in the home and in the community. So the first strategy was around building staff capacity. The second strategy is around building the capacity of our parents to be partners, to boost their confidence. It's around academic resources, instructional tools, performance data, all of which strengthen how families are able to show up in the home. Just like the beginning story about Ms. Shabazz and Mr. King, when Mr. King was able to provide guided support, he built confidence in Mrs. Shabazz's home. And that's what we're doing. We're equipping families with the knowledge and tools to help students thrive. At a district level, we are supporting our cluster communities, one of which is actually happening tomorrow with our next installment of Parent University. And it is around a topic that parents have repeatedly expressed interest in knowing more about, which is around testing and assessment. Our Midtown Cluster leaders will be sharing out for the Midtown Cluster parents, although it is open to all families. Over in the Mays Cluster, Beecher Hills has launched a Lunch and Learn for families, a family engagement series on all of the tools, knowledge, and tips that they feel that parents need to know to help them help their child. And then something we are very proud of, which is a long time coming, is our Family Ambassador Pilot, also known as Parent Advisory. We engaged 76 individuals who stepped up across all of our schools in their first interest meeting on this past Monday, and we are excited to launch that pilot in the spring. So that brings me to our key performance indicators. Everything that I've shared with you thus far is captured in 2 KPIs, the first of which is around supporting student success, and that is coming from our annual family engagement survey, which is live right now. Our starting point from last year was 83.4%. Just the year before, we were at 77%. This percentage reflects the number of favorable responses to 3 very important questions on that 19-question survey. Those 3 questions ask parents to gauge if their child's school helps them to help their child, helps them to support success outside of the classroom. So of those 3 questions, once again, 83.4% of families responded favorably. And I'm happy to share that although this survey is still live, we're still collecting responses. Of the now 4,200 responses, we are at 86% favorable on these 3 statements. My child's school has academic resources that fit my child's learning needs. The school gives me useful information about how to help my child. And the school provides information on my child's progress and learning goals throughout the school year. Posing these questions to families gives them the opportunity to reflect, does my child's school do this? Do I feel equipped to be a partner? And we're excited about the incoming data that we're getting on that survey. Shameless plug, the survey is open until December 19th. As you have your, continue to have your district meetings, please share the previous flyer and let families and communities know that we encourage their feedback through the 19th. The second KPI is around Parent Portal. You heard me speak a little bit about the digital resources that are available, not just to students, but to families, one of which is Parent Portal. Parent Portal is Infinite Campus. Now, when I talk to a lot of parents about Infinite Campus, oh yes, I know what that is, my child has it. A lot of families do not realize that they have an account that is already set up. All they have to do is activate it. Now, when I told my fellow moms that, I'm a kindergarten mom, when I told my fellow moms that everybody pulled out their phone, downloaded the app in that moment, they thought they already were connected. And they were through their child, but they did not realize that we provide an opportunity for parents to be engaged through their Parent Portal accounts. Through those accounts, they are able to see real-time data, attendance, academic progress, assignments for those students who come home and instantly forget what's due. And they're able to see report cards probably before they come home in that Thursday folder. Now, this data presents one of the biggest opportunities for us, because as you see, last year we were at 68%, and at this point in the school year, we are still at 68.2%, meaning 68.2% of our students, all students, have at least one parent with a Parent Portal account. We have to do better. We need to encourage and promote awareness of Parent Portal and encourage families to activate their account. And activation is just the first step. We want to encourage their usage of it. The final strategy is to integrate family engagement into the academics division and embed high-impact engagement practices across our departments, specifically our schools, instruction and innovation, and performance. There's a pioneer in the field of family engagement, and her name is Dr. Karen Mapp. She is a Harvard professor, and she promotes what we call organizational conditions. There we go. She promotes what we call organizational conditions that should exist in a school district in order for them to say that they do have high impact practices in partnership with families. Some of those organizational conditions is that it should be sustained, integrated, and embedded across the organization. Although I am very proud to be on a team of 4, we are 4 members who represent your family engagement department, but everybody in this room has a responsibility to family engagement, to engage families as partners. And I'm thankful that senior leadership has restructured and realigned us in a way where that we can be more closely aligned to academics, to curriculum and instruction, and to the performance data that we can then bring back to our families in a language that they understand. So as you see here, family engagement as part of student services is able to work more closely with our associate superintendents, with our principals, once again with our curriculum and instruction leaders, meaning our instructional coaches, and our performance teammates. Doing so, we are able to work more closely and bring strategies more effectively to the parent liaisons like you saw today and to our building leaders. Finally, going into some of our opportunities and next steps, I'm excited about the spring semester we will launch district communication campaigns to bring more awareness to things like Parent Portal. We'll promote families' engagement in mid-year student success conversations or parent-teacher conferences, and not just any kind of parent-teacher conference, those that are rooted in data so that parents have a clear idea of where their students are. We are piloting the Family Ambassador or Advisory Cohort. We're continuing to host Parent University virtual sessions on topics that parents have asked for. And then we are working with local schools to host their input meetings, once again, another Title I requirement that is based on the results of their family engagement survey. Because nothing grinds my gears than families saying, I'm taking this survey, but what are you doing with the feedback? We have a responsibility to make sure that that feedback does not live in perpetuity. That we take it, we look back at it, and we discuss it with families, and we act on it. I think I have time. I don't know. There is a highlight reel from the annual Family Engagement Conference. November was Family Engagement Month. And my teammates, shout out to B, Joan, and Tamika, put together a wonderful conference over at the Mays High School. They better clap themselves up. And there is a 60-second highlight reel that hopefully I have the, okay, there we go. Well, first off, this is November, the month of families. November is National Family Engagement Month. So we always host our annual Family Engagement Conference during the month of November to take pause and to highlight the wonderful partnerships going on in all of our schools. These are different opportunities for families to really connect to what's going on in the classroom. Families and parents are the co-teachers. They're an extension of the classroom, so we are focused on empowering our partners, our parents, our grandparents, and caregivers to be just that, the co-teacher in the child's life.
Innovation Academy.
Thank you for your time and commitment to make special activities like this possible. We know that you are families too, and we appreciate the hard work that you put in every day on behalf of the students and families of Atlanta Public Schools. Today and every day, we celebrate our families, we celebrate your partnership, we try every day to earn your trust, and we thank you for what you do each and every day in and out of our students' lives. We have your students for 180 days. You have them for a lifetime. Happy Family Engagement Month. So finally, when asked, what is family engagement in Atlanta Public Schools? It is our belief in parent partnership. It is our practice and efforts to meet families where they are. It is the responsibility that we all share with caregivers to be Atlanta's community of believers so that every child will succeed. Thank you for the opportunity to share, and I welcome your gentle feedback. No, I welcome all feedback.
Thank you very much. I want to make sure board members had time to get any questions in. I'm seeing Board Member Howard, Board Vice Chair McDonald, and Board Member Brooks.
Great job, and
you.
congratulations on a great family engagement conference. I think my question might be answered by the next steps, the family engagement opportunities. The host parent university virtual sessions. I saw an earlier slide, one for Midtown, that looked fantastic with just covering testing anxiety, different assessments that are coming up. I just want to ensure that that looks the same throughout the district and how we're ensuring that is the case.
So the great thing about this one is this was something that was on demand based off of a session that we held during the summer. During Power Up, we hosted a family town hall on testing and assessment. Shout out to our colleagues over in the performance team. They worked with us in providing this testing one-on-one during the summer, and it was open to all families. Families, we had great turnout. It was during the day. We found that was a great time. It limited distractions in the evening, so we went with a midday session. And some of the families that were in attendance said that this was so great that they wanted it again in the fall because they wanted to bring it back to other parents in their community. And so those happened to be some of our Midtown families. But when we did it in the summer, it was something that was offered to all.
That's great to hear. And so that will happen in the spring for every single cluster? Something similar to that?
So we provide, our team provide tailored support to all clusters. And so we provide resources like this a lot. And so when asked, based off of a cluster or a school community or even a cohort, we offer parent university workshops, tailored workshops to schools, principals, and communities when asked.
I think that's great. And I know it needs to be tailored. I guess I just want to make sure that even if a community doesn't necessarily think about that, that it's still an offering, because I think that's highly valuable information to everyone. But not everyone may think to ask.
You don't know what you don't know.
And I know parent liaisons are incredibly well connected to their schools. And I deeply appreciate the work. And thank you, Consuelo, for coming and speaking today. The other question I had was, how do y'all interface with other folks who have touch points with our families, like Parks and Recs? I know that they come to the Family Engagement Conference, but for instance, when there's like a basketball sign up or basketball games happening at rec centers, are there flyers about family engagement opportunities for those clusters? Like, how does that work?
We are nothing without relationships, and shout out to Philip. He is one of many great folks over in Parks and Rec. He'll actually be with us tomorrow at our workshop for parent liaisons. He's speaking to them, presenting to parent liaisons on all things that are going on with the Department of Parks and Recreation. So we maintain that open communication with our city partners, our local and national partners, to ensure that our school staff, not just parent liaisons, but anyone that comes to our professional development, is abreast of what resources, because we are sourced to the resource that they can then bring back to their school communities. And that's a two-way street. When there is something coming out of Atlanta Public Schools that we feel that our community should know, I go straight to partners like Philip from Parks and Rec to provide those updates, because, and I said this during the conference, there are individuals in our community spaces that can reach families in ways that we can't. And so keeping them abreast of all things APS and putting in a language that they can then interpret for families is a critical piece of the community engagement work.
Awesome to hear, because I see a lot of our kids on a regular basis. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So just a thank you for it's absolutely critical, the work that you're all doing, and the parent liaison, and I appreciate Ms. Consuelo sharing her passion with us, which is why she clearly is good at what she does.
She is.
I, saw firsthand the unbelievable work that the parent liaison did at Sutton Middle School with Gladys Rodriguez, who is phenomenal. Yes. And prior to Gladys, Corey Rovac was there doing that same work. That is more than a full-time job, and it takes incredible heart. It is so true that the community that surrounds these schools is one of the greatest assets we have, which is what makes the experience so phenomenal, right? So just thank you, and we as a board are open to support. I do understand that you're trying to do as much as you can with the resources that you're given, but this is a critical piece that we're meeting families where they are. We know there's so many parents that want to help, they don't know how. It's very hard for adults to ask for help. So thank you for just coming out full force, and whatever support that we can lend, it's important that we do that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Thank you for the work that you do. And just a universal thank you to all of our parent liaisons throughout the district. I'm curious, does every school have a designated parent liaison? Or are there any schools that don't yet have one in place?
By title, we have, 2 days ago was 34, but I got an email yesterday from 2 principals who just recently hired 2 parent liaisons, so shout out to them. So now we have 36 parent liaison role by title. All of our schools have a designated, what we call family engagement lead. That lead could be their school social worker, the business manager, the secretary, the assistant principal, and we partner and engage all of them as a district, as their district support staff, to provide that staff capacity. But as of right now, we have 36, and that's across all schools. We support charter, partner, traditional, and non-traditional.
So what I'm hearing is we do have some schools that don't yet have a parent liaison. I remember, it was about 16 years ago. It was before I was certified to be a teacher. It was before I was substituting. I applied to be a parent liaison at Benteen Elementary School. And at the time, the compensation was, I think, like $27,000 a year. I'm curious, what is our compensation, our base compensation for a parent liaison today?
I have so many numbers and I don't have that one, but I can confidently say it has not gone up that much.
I assume that. Okay, so somebody got some data for us.
Yes, sir. So the base rate is going like $30,000 a year.
Right.
I think it's, some may be kept out at like 32, 34, but that's about where we're at.
that's just something I wanted for our board to have common knowledge of, and something for us to think about as we start planning in the future. I appreciate you for sharing that, and also appreciate you for doing the hard work that you do. You guys show up just like teachers do.
Absolutely.
Right? But the compensation is starkly different.
Yes, sir.
I was also curious if there's any pipelines for parent liaisons to become paraprofessionals or teachers. Are we supporting in that way as a district?
So we do. I was gonna shout out LaShondra, but I have LaShondra's boss who's gonna come up here. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Just for clarification, the parent liaison position, we have really tried to invest in all of our positions. So the starting pay is $29,000, but it does go up to $41,000 for parent liaisons. And so we have our Grow Your Own program in Atlanta Public Schools, where we look at people that are strategically in these positions to position them to be beyond paraprofessional, but also teachers.
Thank you. What does that support look like for that professional opportunity?
Yeah, so we identify those parent liaisons or paraprofessionals that have the minimum requirements such as bachelor's. And so we are targeting, so I'm actually about to send out an email to all staff members. And so it talks about if you're interested in these programs, if you meet the minimum qualifications, how we will support you. If you don't meet the minimum qualifications, what we're investing in is for those that have associates, we're investing in them to hopefully have their bachelor's so that we can also, so to your point, our commitment for Atlanta Public Schools is to really build our pipeline, starting with all of our positions.
So if someone has a bachelor's, what does our support look like?
So if you have a bachelor's and you're interested in becoming a teacher, and so that's one of the things where if you're interested in becoming a teacher, we have a presentation that you can come and we will give you more opportunities. And if you're interested and you meet the qualifications, if you're selected, then we have a scholarship program for you where we send you back to school, where we monitor you. You have support from the career development department, and then we strategically placed you in those schools where you can continue to grow.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. LaShondra from Human Resources will be joining our monthly workshop next semester. So they are definitely making good on that commitment.
Thank you so much, Crystal. Great job. Thank you all. Thank you to our family engagement folks. Now, Ms. Bracken will come up and she'll take general feedback, I guess.
Good afternoon. I will be so brief. We do have 3 topics today. The first is our monthly financials through the month of October. The revenue is on track at 27.89%, and as compared to the previous year, we're actually well ahead of pace. So this time last year, we had collected about 22.08% of revenue. As compared to that 27, the bulk of that is in our local taxes. Some of that can just be the timing of some of those big, large payments when they're coming in at the end of October. So we'll track this a couple more months to see if that trend in revenue is bearing out, but that's a good sign. As y'all recall, we brought forward to you a budget adjustment at the beginning of the year to trim back a little bit on that local revenue. So hopefully that conservative stance is paying off. Expenditures are on pace at 27.45% as compared to the previous year. That's just barely ahead of pace at 27.39. That's a correction from last month where we saw we were about a percentage point ahead, and also a correction from the previous year where we were tracking ahead most of the year. So good to see that as well. We'll continue to manage spend down, and we are continuing to look for opportunities within this budget to make reductions as those become available. Those together will hopefully help us reach a goal to not use fund balance in the current year. So your budget that you adopted for FY26 did contemplate the usage of about $13 million of fund balance. If we're able to continue to track ahead of pace for revenue, stay under for expenditures, our goal is to not use fund balance in the current year and then get right back on track with starting to restore fund balance in the out years. We do not have budget adjustments for this month. And I will take just a moment here from our budget commission meeting to answer a couple of follow-up questions we had. Board Member Brooks, I really wanted to have an answer for you on the QBE for today, except for we could not get scheduled with the state budget office until tomorrow. So I meet with them tomorrow. We'll get better answers. But I did want to speak to the slide that's created some confusion, because that slide, it talks about our QBE allocation being about 20% of our total revenue as compared to the average of 40% for other districts. Board Member Baldwin, you mentioned averages can be tricky. We will always be on that lower side of the 40%. We have a very healthy local base, and so we'll always be on that lower side of that. But what we are looking to do, not only through the facilities master planning process, but through our budget parameters to try to get access to as much revenue as possible, is to start increasing that percentage through things like our facility master planning process, looking at how we're capturing and counting our students and our student programs, and through the CPI process and making sure we're getting funding for our teachers that are certified. So that was the first thing I wanted to talk about. The second thing, Board Member Johnson, you asked a question about aligning our budgets more strategically to the strategic plan. We've started the work of looking at our 24 and 25 budgets to kind of, or 25 and 26 to kind of shoehorn those back into the 6 initiatives within the strategic plan. But we're also doing a rethink, and we'll talk about this more, but what these next few months of Budget Commission could look like, so that we're building the FY27 budget with more intentionality around those strategic plan initiatives. So it won't be that different. In January, we typically talk about the budget allotments anyway, but this month we are really going to talk about how those budget allotments are really aligning to positioning us for student success, right? So kind of bucketing it a little bit differently. So excited to talk more about that, and I can have any questions that you have. New record, 2 minutes, I think.
Board Member Dr. Zeff.
So be super gentle. Great to see the news on the revenue. Any hypothesis of what's happening there that we're seeing?
No, my gut says, the commercial values were under assessed. What I'm hopeful that means is that they aren't appealing at the rates that they have in the previous years. So that hopefully we are getting the collections on the front end instead of it sitting into appeals for months and months and months. That might be part of why that's coming in a little bit more expeditiously than in the past years.
I do want to point out one more general comment, that we are moving towards a place of balance in our budget without fund balance, which is how our system should operate. Not that we should not use fund balance, because you use it for strategic things, but not to fund operational needs.
That's right.
And that's where we have to continue to push towards. Thank you, Lisa. Oh.
No, just a gentle comment, that's all. I just wanted to say thank you, Dr. Bracken, for following up on an inquiry. Sometimes we get asked questions, a lot of questions get asked, and it may not directly get responded to or answered to, and so I really do appreciate you following up on that, even though we didn't have an answer today, so just thank you for that.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. That is all. We're going to turn real brief to a video. I know we've been a little bit long, but it's an important conversation happening today around APS 4 2040, and there's been a ton of community engagement around it. We'll continue to engage regardless of the conversation that will commence this evening. But just a brief highlight on some of the engagement.
Atlanta Public Schools is driven by the voice of the community. In the spirit of transparency, compassion, and collaboration, we're committed to co-creating the future with you.
I know that APS is going into a new direction, given all the changes in the landscape in education. It's really important that voices are heard who are actually on the ground every day doing the work.
Some of the conversations around the facilities piece was, they're very hard and they're difficult conversations, whereas these are really exciting and energizing conversations, I think, for people to imagine what the future is going to be. I believe incredibly strongly in our public education.
Literacy is the foundation. It is the springboard from which every other genre of life
comes from. It's really, really important to me that we're creating systems where all of the kids in Atlanta are able to experience amazing educational opportunities.
Our parents need a voice, right? This is an opportunity for us to work with our community at large, so that staff, that students, that is parents, families, and stakeholders, for anybody to just really offer some input, figure out how can we shape a vision that is representative of the community and accomplishes what we all want, which is my students to be well-rounded, to be super citizens.
The pieces that's important to me is that even while we're looking at these very specialized programs, that we think about what the opportunities are for all of our students as well in each of these areas.
It really doesn't take much to do a positive thing that could inspire them someday.
The future of Atlanta Public Schools is rooted in the input and collaboration of our community of believers, like you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your reports. We will now transition back into and resume the executive session that was recessed earlier. We will reconvene at 5:30 p.m. for our Facilities Master Plan Public Hearing number 2.